Welcome back. Today I want to review how to factor. So I created this flow chart for you. When it comes to factoring, the first thing you should always do is look for a GCF. So you might want to take a screenshot of this or take a photo of this with your phone. So the first thing you're going to do is look for a GCF, always. So if it has a GCF, you're going to factor it out. It's like using the distributive property backwards. After you factor out the GCF, what's left inside your parentheses, you're going to count how many terms you have. Or if there is no GCF, then you'll count the number of terms as well. So if there's two terms, we have three options. We could have a difference of two perfect squares. So if you got a perfect square minus a perfect square, it can factor. Or it could be prime, or you have a sum or difference of perfect cubes. We have done all of these this year. So those are your options if you have two terms after you look for a GCF. If you have four terms, you're going to factor it either by grouping, where you group the first two terms together, you group the last two terms, factor out a GCF, or it's prime. And then if it has three terms, you can, we've been working on this. If it has a leading coefficient of 1, you can factor it the short way, where you just go straight to the factors. Or it could be prime. That means you can't factor it. Or you can do it the long way, by grouping, or you can use the slip and slide method. That's what we've been using all year. But I will show you a third way. Or you can use this method called guess and check. So this is our flow chart that we're going to use when it comes to factoring. All right, so let's look at some examples now. So I'm going to give you an expression, and I'm going to ask you to factor it. So here's our first example here. Let's do this one. 5n squared minus 20. 5n squared minus 20. Well, if we go back to the flow chart, the first thing we should look for is a GCF. Is there a number or variable or combination of both that goes into both of your terms? Well, what can I divide out of both of these terms? 5. So first thing we're going to do is factor out the GCF, which is 5. So then it's basically asking yourself, what times 5 gives you 5n squared? N squared. What times 5 gives you minus 20? Minus 4. Now, sometimes when you pull out the GCF, then you're done. You can't factor any further. But you should always look at what's inside the parentheses here. So it's like a brand new problem. So just ignore the 5 that you poured out at the beginning. N squared minus 4. How many terms do I get? 2 terms. So let's look at our flow chart here. If I have 2 terms, I can factor it if it's 2 perfect squares, or it could be prime, or if I have a sum or difference of 2 perfect cubes. So all you gotta do here, basically if you have 2 terms, ask yourself, is n squared a perfect square? Yep, it is. Is 4 a perfect square? Yeah. So it's that special case. N squared minus 4 is a difference of 2 perfect squares. And it's really easy to factor. What times what gives you n? N. So you put n and n down. What times what gives you 4? 2 and 2. But you want negative 4, so one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. If you FOIL this part out, the quantity n plus 2 times the n minus 2, if you FOIL that out, the middle terms are going to cancel each other out. And you just end up with n squared minus 4. So this is the factors of this expression up here. You got your GCF, which you should always look for in the beginning, and then you can factor it again. All right, so let's try another one. Let's do this one. 36 n squared minus 25. So first step, always when it comes to factoring, is to look for a GCF. Is there a greatest common factor? Is there a number besides 1 that goes into both of these terms? Or a variable? No, there's not. How many terms do you got? 2 terms. Are these two terms perfect squares? Yes, they're both perfect squares. And there's a minus sign. If there would have been a plus sign, you can't factor it. It has to be only a difference of perfect squares. So you gotta have only subtractions of perfect squares. So what times what gives you 36n squared? 6n and 6n. What number times itself twice gives you 25? 5 and 5. And you want negative 25, so one's positive, one's negative. The middle term is going to cancel out when you FOIL. So this is the factors. All right, so let's try another one. Let's do this one right here. 8y squared plus 18y plus 9. So again, the first step always is look for a greatest common factor. Is there a number or a letter that goes into all three of these? There isn't, besides one. So you can't pull out a GCF. How many terms do you got? 3 terms. So our options are, it's either prime, or we got to factor it the long way, or we're using guess and check, or we just factor it the short way if we got a leading coefficient of 1. So what you want to do before you try to factor it is do this test. That is called product sum test. Okay? So the product sum test, what you do is you multiply the first term times the last term. 8 times 9 is 72. You call that your product. The middle term is your sum. So what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, are there two numbers that multiply these 72 and add to be 18? If you can answer yes to this, you can factor it. And we can. The two numbers are 6 and 12. 6 times 12 is 72. 6 plus 12 is 18. So it can be factored. So now we have a couple options how to factor it. We can do it by grouping, which I didn't show you. So that option we're going to throw out. So the options that we have are slip and slide or guess and check. Okay, we've been doing slip and slide forever. So I'm going to show you guess and check. So guess and check, some people might not like guess and check. If you're going to use guess and check, I recommend that you use a pencil. Because it's called guess and check, you're going to be doing some guessing, so you're going to be making some mistakes. So what you're going to do is you're going to go straight and try to go straight to the factors. So what you're going to do first is you're going to guess some factors of 8y squared. So whatever pops in your head first. When I see 8y squared, I think 2y and 4y. I'm just guessing, okay? And now you're going to guess some factors of your last number. 9, okay? Factors of 9, I think 3 and 3. Okay, so I did my guess. Now I gotta do the check part. The check part comes with the middle number. We want to check that we get 18y in the middle if I FOIL this out. So let's check it. We haven't put any signs in yet, because you don't do that until after you check it. So you're gonna go 3 times 4. Multiply these together. 3 times 4 is 12y. Multiply the last two numbers. 2y times 3 is 6y. What do we want in the middle? 18y. Can we make 12y and 6y 18? Yes, we can, if they're both positive. So I'm going to put a plus sign here and a plus sign here. And then the last thing you got to do is you guys got to make sure I can have both of these being positive. So let's look at the last number. If I take a positive 3 times a positive 3, does that give me a positive 9? Yes. So I can make them both positive. So this is the answer. This is another way of factoring besides doing slip and slide. I'll do slip and slide on the next one. But this is called guess and check. So if you like it, you can use it. But I want to see the work. I want to see you guessing. I can't really see you guessing, but I want to see this part, the checking part. So show that. All right, so let's try another one. Let's go 4y squared minus 5y minus 6. So again, first step is to look for a GCF. It is not a greatest common factor. So now, how many terms are I got? 3 of them. So I'm going to either try, I want to see if it factors first. So first thing I do is the product sum test. Let's see if I can factor it. If it fails this test, you can't factor it, it's prime. So let's go 4 times -6 is -24. That's my product. The middle number is still my sum. Are there 2 numbers that multiply to be -24 and add to be -5? Yes. -8 and 3. So that means we can factor it. So we could do guess and check on this if we wanted to. But I did that on the last one, so I'm just going to remind you of the other method that we had. Slip and slide. So let's try slip and slide. So let's take this 4, slip it to the back. So rewrite this as y squared minus 5y. Remember, when you slip it to the 4 to the back, you got to multiply by that last number. 4 times -6 is -24. So now we're going to try to factor it. So I'm going to put y and y down because that's y squared. What 2 numbers multiply to be -24 and add to be -5? -8, +3. Now this is not your answer. I see a lot of students stop here and they think that are the factors. But we're using slip and slide. We did the slip part. So now we got to slide the 4 back into our answer. And then reduce. Always reduce before you do anything else. 8/4 reduces down to 2. 3/4 can't be reduced. So I'm just going to leave that as 3/4. And when you're factoring, I never want the factors to have fractions. So if you do have a fraction, like we do on the second factor, just take the denominator and move it in front of the y, or whatever your variable is. So here are the factors. We could have got that by using guess and check on this. It might have took us a while to guess and check on it, though. All right, so let's try one more. Let's do this one. 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. So again, look for a GCF. Is there a greatest common factor? There's not. So now, let's take the first one times the last one. 6 times -5 is -30. Are there 2 numbers that multiply to be -30 and add to be 13? Yes. -3 and -10. So that means we can factor it. Okay? You should know slip and slide. So let's do guess and check on this one. So we're going to go straight to the factors and try to do guess and check. So we're going to guess some factors of 6x squared. So I'm going to guess 2x and 3x. Now I'm going to guess some factors of -5. So I'm going to say 1, -1. Well, actually, just ignore the signs for now. Let's just do factors of 5. So let's do 1 and 5. Because it's -5, what we know is one of these is going to be positive, one's going to be negative. We don't know which one's going to be positive, which one's going to be negative. We don't know if we guessed correctly. So now we're going to check to see if we can get 13x in the middle. So I want to see this part. So we're going to multiply these 2 terms together. 1 times 3x is 3x. 2x times 5 is 10x. Can I get positive 13x? I can if both of these are positive. But if I make these both positive, I still got to make sure I can use a positive on both of these. Well, what is positive 1 times positive 5? That's positive 5. What do we want? We want a -5. So we can't use positive 1 and positive 5. So we guessed wrong because we can't do that. So this is why you want to use a pencil. So now I'm going to have to erase that. So 1 and 5 is not in the correct spot. Maybe 2 and 3 is not in the right ones. I could have maybe used 6x and 1x. I don't know. Guess and check is kind of complex. You got to do a lot of guessing and checking. So what I want to do first is I'm just going to switch these around. Rule out this one before we change the 2x and the 3x. So what is 5 times 3x? 15x. 2x times 1 is 2x. What do I want in the middle? 13x. Can I get 13x? Yeah. If one of these is positive and one is negative. And remember, we want one of the numbers to be positive, one to be negative, because we want it to multiply to be negative 5. So I'm going to put a plus 5 here and a minus 1 here. So now I have it correct. So these are the factors. If you don't like erasing and guessing, guess and check is not the method for you. You can just use slip and slide. It will always work. All right? Let's do one more. I know I said that was the last one. Let's do one more though. Let's say we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 7. Is there a greatest common factor? Is there a number that goes into all three of these? Or a letter? No, there's not. So now, how many terms do we got? 3 of them. So this is that one where we want to see if it can factor. We want to do the product sum test. We want to know, does it factor? Well, does it pass this test? 2 times 7 is 14. Are there 2 numbers that multiply to be 14 and add to be the middle number? Well, factors of 14, we got 1 and 14, 2 and 7. Okay, we got factors of 14. Other factors of 14 are negative 1 and negative 14, negative 2 and negative 7. So these are all the factors of positive 14. Do any of these factors add up to negative 30? No, none of these add up to negative 30. So what that means is it fails this test. It fails the product sum test. So that means this is prime. We cannot factor it. So you just write